What are reasonable expectations for Bill Belichick in year one? What is the ceiling and what is the floor? Let's huddle up and talk about it, baby.
You don't want none! You don't want none!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ, the Tar Heel. And in this huddle, baby, with football season literally only 2 months away, man, I wanted to talk about the realistic expectations that we have for Bill Belichick in year one, man. And I'm talking about the bare minimum that you would expect in order to justify that $10 million annual salary, that would make you think that the program is trending in the right direction, right? The Bill Belichick can be successful at this level. And I also want to know what you think is the ceiling, right? Where do you think he can take this team in year one? But first, I want you to give me a second to give you some food for thought. Now, I think that it's really important to consider a multitude of variables here. Carolina's recruiting classes compared to their opponents, Carolina's coaching staff compared to their competition. How about we even just consider the competition in general, right? Not all schedules are made the same. They're not all equal, right? What about the locations that Carolina's playing their toughest opponents on this schedule? All these things need to be taken into consideration when we're trying to identify the floor and the ceiling for Belichick in his first year at Carolina. Now, I've already gone over the schedule, right, in previous videos. I've released my way too early season predictions. We just recently had artificial intelligence, Skynet, predict the stinking Carolina season. Go back and look for that video because that was a lot of fun. And we're hovering around 9 or 10 wins for the season right now, which is crazy to think about, dude. But not everybody is on that same wavelength. And, I would say rightfully so, right? TCU is going to be a tricky home opener with the Hoover kid coming back. But at the same time, Texas Christian has absolutely no idea what to expect from Bill Belichick and his coaching staff. All these new guys that Carolina has in Carolina Blue, they got no game film. So that's going to be a crazy, interesting game. Who knows which way that one goes. UCF could be a tricky game down in Orlando, Florida. Obviously, Clemson comes to town. Preseason title contenders. They're coming to the Hill after a bye week. They have a bye week as well. So that could be an interesting football game. Then Carolina heads out west to take on the Cal Bears, right? 2 weeks after the Clemson game. They get another bye week there. Then you got a Halloween night game at Syracuse, a team that just won 10 games last year. Manny Diaz has got the Dukies playing pretty well, man. And then there's obviously the game at NC State at the end of the season in Raleigh, man. It's not the most formidable schedule by any means necessary. I mean, Carolina's not playing Miami. They don't play SMU. They don't play Georgia Tech. They don't play Louisville. They don't play Pitt. They don't even play Virginia Tech, right? And I think all those teams are going to be in the top half of the ACC this year. So tons of opportunities for Carolina to stack wins, right? I mean, we're kind of playing the bottom of the barrel in the Atlantic Coast Conference, aside from the Clemson Tigers, man. So, not really too big of a deal as far as schedule is concerned. Now, let's look at the coaches within the conference. And I'm going to just go ahead and say this, man. I'm going to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. I don't care what anybody says. Carolina has the best coach in the Atlantic Coast Conference, right? And it's not even stinking close. Yes, Dabo has 2 national championship trophies, and he's done great things down at Clemson. Nobody's trying to take that away from him, but it pales in comparison to the accomplishments of Coach Belichick. 6 Super Bowl rings as a head football coach for the New England Patriots, and he's also got 2 as a defensive coordinator, right? So it doesn't even make sense to try to equate these 2 things. I don't care if he hasn't coached a down in college football. That's not a big deal to me. And that's what the pushback is going to be, right? It's continually the fact that he's never coached at this level. Well, good news. There's been 2 fairly recent coaches that have come in and dominated college football after coming from the National Football League. A guy named Nick Saban, who didn't do anything in the National Football League, came to Alabama, won 6 titles, and that's after coming back from the NFL because he initially left after winning a title at LSU prior to that. And then you got the most recent guy, which is Jim Harbaugh, who brought Michigan back to glory and won a natty before returning to the NFL himself. So it can be done, and I anticipate that it will be done by the GOAT. And much of that confidence comes from the guys that he's got in his corner as well. A lot of people just try to put this onus on Bill Belichick, by himself. How about taking into consideration that the great Michael Lombardi, who is an absolute magician, right? He's a magician at identifying talent. Maybe guys that are kind of under the radar, if you will. Coach's son, Steve, drastically improved the Washington Huskies defense in the 1 year that he was at UW. Now he's taken over for, as the defensive coordinator for Carolina. Freddie Kitchens was a former NFL head coach, went to a Super Bowl with the Cardinals. He's Carolina's OC. Will Friend, Carolina's O-line coach. He's coached 9 offensive linemen that have been selected in the NFL draft. Tons of experience in the SEC, including Georgia, Tennessee, Auburn, and Mississippi. Matt Lombardi coached Heisman finalist Dylan Gabriel at Oregon last year, and he's got a good bit of NFL experience himself. Tons of really good coaches all over this stinking staff. Armand Hawkins, Brian Belichick, Mike Prefer, dude, a special teams guru with crazy NFL experience at 6 different professional organizations, bro, holding that same position. And he's going to take that one here at Carolina. Coaching is not going to be the problem, dude. We do not have a tough schedule. We got the best coaching staff in the entire stinking conference. And the only other thing I can think about here is, what about the talent on the roster? Well, obviously it's going to be hard to quantify the talent because, in the current landscape of college football, every single year it seems like the rosters are just, more and more it's the turnover, right? Because of this transfer portal situation. But let's just go back to 2022 and compare Carolina's classes with the understanding that they obviously out-recruited Texas Christian, they out-recruited Charlotte and Richmond, and they out-recruited UCF. So let's just see how they fared against the Atlantic Coast Conference. And give me a second real quick because I need to share my screen with you guys. Give me 1 second. Here we go. We'll share that. All right. So down here in 2022, Carolina had the best recruiting class in the entire conference. UNC, Miami, Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Boston College, right? Carolina doesn't play any of those guys except Clemson. That's it, right? We only play Clemson out of that top 8. Let's check 2023. Because remember, we're trying to look at talent on the current rosters. Miami, Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and then you got State down there at 7. So out of the top 6, Carolina plays one of those teams, the Clemson Tigers. Let's look at 2024. ACC. Miami, Florida State, Clemson, NC State. We do play them. North Carolina, Syracuse after that. So in the top 5, Carolina that year, last year's recruiting classes placed 2 of the top 5 teams in the conference. You can add Syracuse in there as 3 as the top 6. But 3 of them, Carolina doesn't play, right? Let's go to 2025. ACC. Miami, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Clemson, North Carolina, SMU. Out of the top 6, Carolina plays 1. The Clemson Tigers. They don't play the Canes. They don't play Florida State. They don't play Georgia Tech. They don't play SMU. And then you play the Dukies here at 7. Don't even play Virginia Tech at 8. So Carolina will be more talented than everyone on their schedule except for the Clemson Tigers. Okay. That is the point that I want you guys all to see. Easy schedule, top-notch coaching staff, and the most talented team against everyone they play except for the Clemson Tigers, man. These are all things that really want to keep me moving that number to the right, that floor number to the right, because I've seen people say that it's 6. I've actually seen people talk about this being a 6-win team in year 1. Is it 6, 7, 8, 9? Can Carolina win 10 games in year 1? Can they stretch it out to 11 in year 1? The question is, what are the reasonable expectations for Bill Belichick in year 1? Well, I'd put my floor based on what I just explained to you, and this is just my personal opinion, but my floor, I'm talking about bare bottom floor with all of those things taken into consideration, is going to be 8-4 in the regular season, man. And that's only because it's year 1. Okay. Now the ceiling here, and this is going to blow a lot of your tops, and a lot of people are going to call me a homer, and that's okay. But the ceiling here, if everything just works out perfectly with all of those variables taken into consideration, Carolina could go stinking 11-1. I mean, this is not a tough schedule, dude. And the only loss that I would have them, for sure, is going to be the Clemson Tigers, dude. And, I think that that's possible. I'm trending somewhere right there in the middle, 9-10. I may fluctuate just a little bit as the season draws near and nearer, but I don't see why that's an unreasonable expectation for Bill, considering all of those variables in place. I just really believe that Carolina, man, suffered from a lack of discipline, attention to detail, and grit under the previous regime, and that crap is done, dude. Bill's different. There's a new standard, and there is a new culture, and if these issues arise, they will actually be dealt with. Accountability is a real thing inside the Keenan Football Center in 2025, man. Better coaches, better talent, soft schedule equals a recipe for a lot of wins in year 1. So you guys let me know what you think the floor is, for this Carolina team. And you also let me know what the ceiling is down in the comment section, Tar Heel Nation. If you haven't already, man, do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe to the Daggum channel. It's a great day to be a Tar Heel, and we'll catch you guys on the next one, baby. Go Heels.